Picture 40 people gathered together. They sit in a circle at night. Every person in that circle looks away. Not one of them will meet your eyes. Nobody is shouting. No weapon is raised. Not a single hand moves. They are simply waiting. A small fire crackles between you. It doesn't seem to feel the tension. Researchers study cases like this one. They call it the quiet punishment. No trial happens. No one reads out a sentence. Support simply stops arriving. It happens one small gesture at a time. Would you have felt it start? Would you have known the exact moment? Stay until the end of tonight's story. You'll understand something stranger than you think. Some scientists study this kind of silence. They believe it could be worse than death. It may explain something modern. Why does one unanswered text still sting? There were no laws yet. Back then, people had only the group. Every shared meal meant something. Someone had chosen to feed you. Sleeping close to the fire meant something too. Someone had made room for you there. Belonging wasn't just a nice feeling. It was something more. It was an insurance policy. It was the only one that existed. If you lost your people, you lost more. You lost your odds of living. Picture the brutal math. A struggling band faced this every day. A skilled tracker could feed a dozen mouths. He could do it through a hard winter. Someone always knew which roots were poison. That knowledge saved children constantly. Elders remembered old droughts. That memory could save an entire camp. A storyteller carried the group's history. It all lived inside their memory. Every person held years of knowledge. None of it could be replaced overnight. Why throw that away? Why lose it over one argument? That question has an answer. It's why total banishment stayed incredibly rare. Think about being truly alone. Back then, it meant something different. No one kept watch for you. Even closing your eyes was a risk. Dragging meat back alone was dangerous. Predators often found it before you did. Big game was almost impossible alone. You needed help to bring it down. Nights were long and dark. They were crowded with animals far bigger than you. A single cough could betray you. So could one snapped branch in the dark. One person's odds dropped fast alone. Surviving a full year became unlikely. Everyone around that fire understood the math. No one had to say it aloud. Exile wasn't just heartbreak. It was something far worse. It came with a cost. That cost was often a body count. So what actually stopped constant banishment? How did small bands keep people in? Conflict still happened. Humans have always argued. Food ran short. Tempers ran hot. Jealousy crept in. Groups studied today show a pattern. This is true from southern deserts to dense forests. They didn't cast someone out forever. Instead, they simply split apart for a while. A leadership dispute could divide a band. Half might head toward another valley. Sometimes a bitter feud broke out. Two families would split apart the same way. Distance cooled tempers. It didn't destroy the entire relationship. Once the anger faded, things changed. People often drifted right back together. Flexibility kept most communities intact. Punishment rarely did. But flexibility had limits. Everyone in camp knew it. Some behavior threatened the whole group. It put everyone at risk at once. Violence against camp members was dangerous. It put every sleeping child at risk. Stealing food during a hungry season was risky. It could start a real war. So here's the real mystery. It's what's driving this entire story. What happened when talking stopped working? What happened when splitting and waiting failed to? Picture that circle again. It's the one from the very beginning. Nobody there is angry anymore. Their anger never got loud. They have run out of patience. They have run out of options too. So, tell me, honestly, would you have spoken up first, or would you have stayed silent? Would you have let the group decide? The punishment that followed wasn't dramatic. It rarely looked that way from the outside. There was no announcement. There was no formal walk to a border. Invitations quietly stopped. Conversations grew noticeably shorter. Someone stopped saving you a seat. It used to be near the fire. The shared meat stopped coming your way. It happened less and less often. Your name got mentioned less. Eventually, it was barely mentioned at all. Isolation crept in first. Actual distance came much later. That detail should sound familiar. Your brain still remembers it. Modern experiments studied social rejection. They found something remarkable. Researchers had strangers play a simple game. They played it together online. Then, without warning, something changed. The strangers quietly stopped, including one player. That excluded player's brain lit up. The regions were tied to physical pain. Nobody threw a single punch. It still genuinely hurt. Our minds still react to exclusion. They act like it could actually kill us. In a very real sense, that fear is old. It's practically a fossil. It's an ancient alarm system. It still rings inside a modern skull. There's another layer to this. It rarely gets discussed at all. Losing your group cost you more than food. It cost you protection, too. It cost you your entire identity. That's true in a very literal sense. Your history lived inside other people's memories. It wasn't written down anywhere else. Without your band, who could verify where you came from? Who could confirm who your parents were? Away from your fire, you had no audience. Whose stories did your own stories even belong to? That kind of loss cuts deep. It goes deeper than simple hunger ever could. None of that makes this a cold-hearted world. It's actually the opposite. Archaeology holds more than loss. It holds astonishing evidence of real devotion. Skeletons have been discovered with terrible injuries. Those injuries should have been fatal. Alone, one well-known Neanderthal skeleton was found in France. He had lost most of his teeth. He'd also lost the use of an arm. It happened likely years before he died. Someone had to soften his food. They did it constantly. For years. Others carried extra weight for him. That's how he kept moving with the group. That kind of care takes real effort. It has to be sustained over years, not days. A society capable of that devotion is rare. It doesn't discard people. Exile existed in these camps. So did extraordinary compassion. Side by side. Protecting the group sometimes meant holding someone close. It meant staying through their weakest years. Other times, it meant something else. It meant losing someone forever. Neither choice was made lightly. Neither one came without grief. How far would a group this caring go? Would they go far enough to protect themselves? Here's where the story turns darker. It gets far darker than most people expect. Anthropologists studied small-scale societies. They found something deeply counterintuitive. In several documented cultures, T's held true. Groups rarely exiled their most dangerous members. Instead, something else happened. Once someone became repeatedly violent, the group chose execution. That sounds backward. Let that sit for a second. Why kill someone at all? Why not simply send them away? Sending them away seemed safer. It actually wasn't. An exiled person still knew your camp. They knew exactly where it stood. They knew your escape routes. They knew your food stores and your children's names. A furious stranger had nothing left to lose. They could return at any time. Worse, they might reach a rival band. They could offer up everything they knew. Suddenly your location was known. It became a bargaining chip. In that light, exile wasn't the safe option. It might have been the riskiest one. It could be the most dangerous choice a group ever made. Some researchers argued this is exactly why. Certain societies chose collective killing instead. The whole group carried it out together. That way, no one person bore the blame. No single family would carry a grudge. That grudge wouldn't reach the next generation. It was horrifying, but by their own logic, it was also final. Sit with that for a moment. It flips everything you assumed. We picture ancient exile as uniquely cruel. We picture execution as unthinkable. For some of these societies, it was reversed. The calculation ran the exact opposite way. Mercy could be the riskier choice. Silence could be the deadlier one. Which decision could you live with? Think about it honestly. I want to know in the comments. So be honest. There's one more twist. It's worth sitting with Before we close this out, not everyone who walked away was forced out. Some chose to leave. Leaving before a conflict exploded had a purpose. It could prevent bloodshed entirely. Some younger members chose new horizons. They likely did it on their own terms. Trade routes stretched far. So did marriage networks. Much farther than people realized. A stranger could arrive with useful skills. With a peaceful story, they stood a real chance. Reputation could travel down a trade route. It moved faster than any so a single departure wasn't a death sentence. It didn't happen automatically. Sometimes it was simply a new beginning. It was a different life, somewhere else entirely. Now picture that circle one final time. It's the way we opened tonight. The faces still won't meet yours. The fire still crackles low, but somewhere past the tree line, something else is happening. Other fires are burning too. Other circles exist. So do other stories. And maybe another chance. That uncertainty was the point. It's what made this punishment so powerful. It wasn't the walk into the dark. That wasn't what people feared most. Not knowing was the real fear. Would any circle ever open again? Maybe that's the same fear today. It sits quietly behind a message left unread. Different century, same ancient alarm. It's still going off inside every one of us. If this changed how you see that opening circle, tell me. Which fact hit hardest? Hit subscribe if you want more. The next forgotten chapter of prehistoric life is waiting for you. The deepest human fears were built long ago. They were built around a single campfire, and most of us are still sitting there. We're still a little too close to the dark.